Hello guys, welcome to another video. This is Susana at home. My name is Susana, and today in this video I wanted to share with you how I utilize one pork shoulder roast for my family. This is quite large. This is how many pounds? 9.62 pounds. So I'm thinking I can probably get 5 meals out of this. And then also rendered the fat. This doesn't have a whole lot of fat, but I'm going to try to render the fat. And the fat, I can use it to cook with. My thought with this is meal number one is going to be spaghetti and ground pork. Second meal will be, I call it fiesta salad or Frito pie, I think. It consists of ground meat, some white rice, some beans, some type of bean, and then you stack all of this. And then you put like lettuce on top, cheese, tomatoes, whatever vegetables you want to add. And then if you have Fritos, you add a little bit of Fritos or just tortilla chips and some salsa on top with sour cream. We all love that meal here at home, so that's going to be another meal. Another meal will be pork in red salsa with potatoes, so it'll be pork, potatoes, and salsa, and some type of red salsa. I'm not sure how I'm gonna prepare that, but that's gonna be another meal with a side of rice maybe. Another meal will be chorizo. I'm gonna make a little bit of chorizo. And then for the last meal, I'm going to be making some sopes. Sopes, it's basically a thick tortilla. You use the corn flour mixer to make tortillas. And instead of making the flat tortilla, you make smaller, thicker tortillas. And those are called gorditas. You put those aside and you use those with the pork rinds that I'm going to be left with once I render all the fat. You take your gordita, you put a little bit of beans on top, and then you put a little bit of the pork rinds, and you top it with lettuce, tomato rounds, and some onion. Then you sprinkle some cheese and a little bit of sour cream, and that is delicious, my friends. You can also use some type of salsa, put salsa on top, and that is a very yummy meal that my kids and my family really enjoy. And so yeah, that's my plan. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this up. As we all know, groceries are getting very expensive. And one of the ways you can cut down on your groceries, on your grocery bill, is by utilizing a little bit less meat. You can buy the least expensive meat cuts. And this is one of the least expensive. Any type of roast, whether it's beef or pork, are going to be a lot less expensive, and because they're big chunks of meat, you can yield more meals. This was actually on sale for only 89 cents a pound. I purchased this at Kroger. Here in Texas, we have Krogers all over. I don't know where you are, but and depending on where you are, the prices in food will vary. I am very blessed to be here in Texas, and I believe it's a little less expensive than some of the other states. This was only 89 cents a pound. When I find these type of sales, I usually buy in bulk or try to buy in bulk if possible. For instance, I purchased 4 of these. Was it 4? It was 5 of these. And I'm gonna have quite a bit of meat for some time. I'm also gonna be making some tamales. My family loves tamales. I don't like to cook them very often because they can be quite a task. But I'm gonna be making some, and I can use some of this meat to do those. And this is the bone. It is quite a bit of bone, but I can go ahead and cook this up with the pork and potatoes. And somebody will definitely enjoy eating what's, the meat that's left on there. So I'm done cutting up the meat. This is how much meat I got out of the roast. This right here, I'm gonna go ahead and ground up. And that's the fat right there. I'm also gonna go ahead and grind that so it'll be easier to grind. And I'm gonna start grinding my meat. Not sure what happened, but this is not turning, so I don't know if this has given up on me or what. I don't know. So there has been a change of plans. Instead of using my KitchenAid to ground the meat, I'm going to be using this one. Not sure what happened with my KitchenAid, but it does not want to turn. If any of you know what that might be or how I can fix it, let me know. I'm going to Google it and see. Maybe my husband can fix it. Okay, this is my meat. It's ready to be put away. I ended up with 4 little bags. Each one is about 20 ounces of ground pork. And then this is 25 point something ounces of the pork fat. I was thinking that I was gonna do 5 meals with this, but I think it's gonna be more like 6 because I ended up with 5 bags of ground meat. And then I also have my bone. So I'm gonna put this away, and this can be I can make some type of soup or broth later on. So that's even another meal that I'm gonna be able to create. And then this is the other portion of the pork. I'm gonna go ahead and cook this up right now. And that's gonna be meal number 1. And I'm gonna season my pork very easy. It's just gonna be, I'm just gonna be using a little bit of pepper, some garlic, and this is salt. I do wanna be generous with the salt. I'm gonna be using a little bit of bacon grease. That's what this is. My pan is ready for my meat, so I'm gonna go ahead and add my meat. And I'm gonna sear it. I'm gonna give it a good color, cook it up, and let it brown. And while this is cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and grill my chilies right here. These, as you know, are sweet chilies. But this is the only chilies that I have, so I'm going to go ahead and give them some color as well. And this will give it an amazing flavor as well. This is going to become my salsa. I'm turning my peppers. I don't know if you can see, but they're getting some color. This is what this is looking like. The water has evaporated. And my meat is almost completely cooked. I'm gonna go ahead and add these onions. I'm getting ready to prepare my salsa. For my salsa, I'll be using, of course, the chilies that I grilled. I'll be using 4 garlic. I'll be using a cube of this, which is chicken bouillon. I have these much tomatoes, so I'll use those. Then 1 can of diced tomatoes. So I'm gonna blend this, and that's gonna be our salsa. Okay, and these are the potatoes. Remember, the beginning of this week, I cooked a whole bunch of potatoes just to have them ready. So that's what that is, part of those. So this is ready for my salsa. This is really chunky. It's gonna be really yummy. I'm gonna let it cook for a little bit and then add a little more water to this because I like it to be a little more liquidy. So I added a little more water. As you can see, this is quite a lot of food. It will feed my family of 7 and we'll have leftovers for sure. I do have some leftover white rice from yesterday. Not quite enough for all of us, so some of us are gonna have white rice and the others are gonna have this with a side of refried beans. And this is ready. It smells delicious. This is how I serve it with a side of rice. And I really stretch this recipe using the potatoes. It makes more food and it's delicious. Good morning, everyone. It's early in the morning, so I'm getting started on meal number 2. Today it's sopes. I'm going to be preparing sopes for dinner. And the first thing is to go ahead and render the pork fat. I started in my slow cooker. It cooked for about 2-3 hours and then later I transferred it to my pan. And I cooked it until it rendered most of the fat. As you can see, it's turning like a nice brown color. That means they're almost ready. And this is how much lard I was able to get. I'm gonna go ahead and save it in a mason jar and we'll see how much I get. Once I transfer the fat to the mason jar, I'm gonna put that aside and start on the beans. The first thing is to cook my beans. I've already cooked them. I put them in my slow cooker this morning and they cooked in I'm gonna say 3 hours. So, and I'm getting ready to refry my beans right here. These are my beans right here, and this is my pan. Let me show you. This is how much lard I was able to get out of those, out of the pork fat. So it's a little bit over half a pint, so it's quite a bit. I've already added about a tablespoon of lard to my pan. I don't use much at all. Very little lard will give you an amazing flavor to your beans. You don't need to use a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and refry these. Now let those come to a boil and then I'll use a potato masher to mash them down. And the refried beans are ready for my sopes. Okay, so it's time to make our sopes. This is the type of flour, masa flour that I'll be using. This is from Walmart, Walmart's brand. There's different types of brands you can buy. For me, I just buy the least expensive one, and this was it. The measurements: 2 cups of flour to 1.5 cups of water. So I usually never measure. I just go by feel. You want it to be like a Play-Doh consistency, like a soft Play-Doh. And you just, form your dough. I already had flour in my fridge, so I didn't have to open that one. And so I'm preparing my salsa for my sopes. I'm basically going to be using 1 can of diced tomatoes. And I don't want this to be hot at all, so I'm going to be using, have these miniature peppers, a plant of these. So I think I'm going to be using like just 4 because these are quite spicy. Oh my goodness, I dropped one. Okay, so 4 little chilies, about 1 teaspoon of oregano, 1 garlic, and also about a tablespoon of chicken bouillon. That's it. Gonna blend it, and that's gonna be our salsa. Now you top your sopes with sour cream. In a perfect world, I would have a sour cream, right? But I don't have any. So, however, I do have a ton of this. We got this in another food bank. It's just cottage cheese. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and blend this, put a little bit of salt, and it's gonna take the place of sour cream. So let's do that. And we have our sour cream. It has the consistency of sour cream. It looks like sour cream and it tastes like sour cream. Remember, in your kitchen, you are the boss. If you don't have something, you don't have to go out and get it. Just use what you have, or maybe don't even use it. So let's go ahead and assemble our sopes. And I've started making my sopes. To make sopes, you use these little plastics, and the dough goes in between 2 of these plastics. That's so it won't stick and it'll be easy to remove it from the gordita press. So you simply press like so, and it's ready. It's been about 2 minutes. I'm going to check and see if they're ready, and they are ready to turn. Yeah, they both are. So I'll let them cook for perhaps another minute and a half. It's been about another 2 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and flip them. They're ready to be flipped again. So you only flip 2 times. And then from here, you wait for them to kind of puff up. This one, it's already rising. I don't know if you can tell. This one is ready. Now what I do is I open it like this. I open it all the way. And then I put this thin side underneath like so. This one it's starting to puff up. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this off because for now I'm only making 2. 4 of us have already had dinner. So for now it's only my son. He just came from school and he's having dinner right now. So it's only him. I'm going to spread these with beans. Okay, some beans on top like so. You can be as generous as you like. So, and pork rinds, it's just, a tiny bit. It doesn't take a lot because they do have a lot of flavor. You don't need a lot. So, about that much. Now we're going to go ahead and top them with our vegetables. And this is what we have for our vegetables. We're going to be using some shredded cabbage. And then we're going to be using some queso fresco. Okay, and we're going to be using some tomato, some onions. We'll be adding a little bit of avocado. Yummy, yummy. we're gonna do a little bit of salsa. Again, this is not spicy. This is just to give it a little more flavor to the sope. And some of the sour cream, of course. And there you go, guys. This is quite delicious, guys. We really, my whole family really enjoys this. Okay, so there you go. That's meal number 2. Stay tuned for meal number 3. Good morning, friends, and today is meal number 3. I'll be using the ground meat. Right here is around 20 ounces, so it's roughly a little bit over a pound. I'll be making this with spaghetti. It'll be spaghetti and ground pork. This is my pasta. I'll be using 2 cans of tomato. One diced, the other one is spaghetti pasta. And we like our pasta to be creamy, so for that I'll be using these 2 right here. I'm going to be using up the cream cheese that I blended up yesterday and using a little bit of this. Remember, we got this in the food bank this past week, so I'll be using some of this with a side of green beans. So I'll be using these 2 baggies of green beans as a side, and some garlic bread. I'll be using this garlic to make our garlic bread right here. Let's go. Let's start cooking. I am now working on my cheesy mixture, on my cheesy sauce for the spaghetti. That's my sour cream. And I'm going to be crumbling this blue cheese even a little more. I'm going to be adding it to the sour cream. I think that's going to be enough. I'm going to be cooking up my ground pork, and I'll be using this. This is lard that I prepared a while back. I'm going to say like 2 weeks ago. Before I add my meat, I'm going to be adding some onion. This is just diced onion. My onion is starting to caramelize, so that means it's ready for my meat. And I'm going to start to season my meat with a little bit of salt and some pepper. So I'm going to start cooking on my green beans. I'm going to be using a little bit of this butter to give it flavor. I diced up 3 cloves of garlic, so I'm going to go ahead and cook with that also. My garlic is getting brown, so I'm going to go ahead and drop in my green beans. And I'm going to season them with a little bit of pepper and salt. And that's all the seasonings I'm going to be using for my green beans. And this right here is my sour cream and my blue cheese along with my tomato sauces. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to my meat. I'm going to allow it to come to a boil and then add my pasta to this. I feel like it needs a little more salt, so I'm going to be using about that much. That was probably a teaspoon of chicken bouillon. So this has come to a boil. I'm gonna go ahead and add my spaghetti pasta. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the heat since this is completely cooked. So I'm getting ready to make my butter mixture for my garlic bread. I do have this butter. This came from a food bank. It looks to me that it came from some type of steak restaurant place. It says restaurant spread, butter spread. So it's already seasoned with, I don't know what, it has pepper, I'm sure. Has something else, I don't know what else. So I'm gonna use that much for my bread, and then I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt and some Italian seasoning. And I never measure, but this is probably about a teaspoon. I'm gonna go ahead and melt that in the microwave and then put that over my bread. I'm brushing on the butter mixture to the bread. I'm gonna let them toast for about 3-4 minutes. Once they come out, they're very nice and toasty on the outside and soft in the inside. My family really loves these types of meals. It definitely is very inexpensive because you can use any type of ground meat and you don't have to use a whole lot. Hello guys, and today is meal number 4. We have some ground pork again, and today I'm going to be making some, I call it fiesta salad or Frito pie. My kids call it Frito pie. It's basically just you layer some type of ground meat, beans, any type of beans, and rice, plain just white rice, and then you top it with lettuce, tomato, sour cream, salsa, and your Fritos. Since I don't have Fritos, I'm going to be using this. I have a little bit of Doritos. And then I have these. So we're going to be using these instead of the Fritos. And that's going to be our dinner tonight. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and start cooking up my ground meat right here. Okay, it's already heating, and I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of lard to this. And once again, that's probably like a teaspoon, not a lot. I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is basically just celery and onion. I processed the celery and the onion, and I'm going to go ahead and start with that to give it flavor. And this is ready for my pork. So in goes the pork. And I'm going to go ahead and season with about 2 teaspoons salt. Let's go ahead and season a little more with black pepper, black ground pepper, and some powdered garlic. So let's go ahead and cover and let that cook. My ground pork looks like it's ready. To this, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of this right here. It is called tomato sauce, ranchera style. So I'm going to be using this just to give it a little bit of liquid. It is not a spaghetti flavor at all. It tastes more like a Mexican red salsa. little bit of water. It's already seasoned perfectly. I've already tasted it, and the salt is right on. So I'm just gonna let it come to a boil once again, and then it'll be ready. So now I'm gonna go ahead and cook my rice. It's been washed and drained. So that's roughly about 2 cups of rice. So I'm gonna be adding 2 cups of water and just simply let it cook. I'm not gonna add anything to the rice. It's just gonna be plain white rice. Not even salt. It's gonna be plenty of salt with those chips. So I'm gonna let it cook, and that's it. My ground pork has come to a boil, so that means this is ready. I'm gonna turn off the heat. And then these are my beans back here. When we get ready for dinner, I'm just gonna go ahead and heat those up, and then the rice will remain hot. It is finally time for dinner. So let's go ahead and assemble our plate. I usually do the ground meat on the bottom, the beans, the rice, and then top it with whatever vegetables you're going to be using. In this case, I'm using lettuce, tomatoes, some sour cream and salsa, and of course your Fritos. Doesn't this look yummy? Hello friends, welcome to another day in my life. Today I'm working on meal number 5. And once again, we are working with ground pork. And today I've decided to make albondigas. Albondigas, it's basically a meatball soup. You cook your little meatballs in a broth, and then you add your vegetables. The vegetables that I have that I can work with is potatoes, some chayote squash, and some carrots. So I've already started on my water. I'm gonna be adding, it's just plain water. I'll be adding a couple of garlic and some onion. And then I'll be working on my meatballs. I'll show you how I prepare those. So we're starting with the broth right here. This is just water that's coming to a boil. That was 2 garlic, 1 chicken bouillon, and then half an onion. So I'm going to start off by making my meatballs. This is my meat. I've got some of this in our previous food pantry. I'm going to go ahead and use it. This is fresh oregano leaves. I'm going to be adding some of this to my meatballs. It gives it a very earthy, warm flavor to your soups. It is used a lot in Mexican dishes. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and give it a quick dice. Okay, that's done. And I'm also using, this is fresh dried mint. I'm also going to be using this. I have a plant of mint. So for the winter, what I do is I cut it and I dry it like this, so I have for future recipes. It can also be used in teas. It's really yummy in teas. So I'm going to be adding a half a cup of rice. This is just raw rice. And I'll be using some breadcrumbs. This is fresh bread, kind of old. I'm going to go ahead and process the bread and then put it in my meat. So I'm going to do that now. And this is my breadcrumbs. And this is going to help the meatballs stay together. And I'm just estimating to this, I'll be adding some salt. 1, 2, about 3 3 teaspoons of salt. And then I'll be using the best utensil in your kitchen. That's your hands. I'm gonna form like a dough. I'm gonna be adding also some dry garlic, powdered garlic, some pepper, black pepper. Alrighty, so I'm making my meatballs. They don't have to be perfect, but just roughly the same size. They're not going to be super large. Keep in mind that it does have rice, so the rice as it cooks, it will expand and it'll make the meatballs slightly larger. So, and we're going to be cooking the meatballs in our broth that we're making. This is a really nice dinner soup for winter. A very hearty meal for sure. Okay, I've already diced my vegetables right here. However, I did wanted to show you how to peel this chayote squash. This right here, it has like an indentation. You want to go ahead and take it out, and you want to peel it because if you leave it, the skin is kind of tough and I don't like it. It's just really tough to eat unless you really cook it like a long time, and even then the skin is tough. So you want to completely peel your chayote squash like that, and then just dice it up, cube it. Dice it into little cubes. Like that. And my soup is already boiling there. I'm gonna say they're almost cooked. So I'm gonna go ahead and add, I'm gonna start with the hardest vegetable, and that's gonna be the chayote squash. That is quite tough. I'm gonna let it cook for a little bit. And then once that cooks a little bit, I'm gonna add the carrots. On here on the side, I'm gonna be searing some onion and tomato. That's gonna give it even more flavor to the broth, to the soup. I'm gonna go ahead and add the onion first, and I'm gonna let that brown and caramelize for a little bit before I add my tomatoes. And I do want to add a little bit of salt to my onion. So this is ready for my tomato. The tomatoes do have a lot of water, so as of now there's a lot of water in my pan. I'm going to let that evaporate. I have allowed most of the water to evaporate on my tomatoes and onions, and I'm going to go ahead and add this to my soup. My chayote squash is almost completely cooked, so what I'm going to do now is go ahead and add the remaining of the vegetables, the carrots and the potatoes. And then I'm going to allow it to cook perhaps another 20 to 30 minutes. And this is my soup. My albondigas are ready, so let's go ahead and have dinner. Let's give it a taste. I think we can do 3 per person. See how they look slightly larger. Doesn't this look delicious? Perfect for a winter night. You guys, thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow with our last meal for this week. And let's try this and see how good this is. It's quite hot. That oregano, the combination of the oregano and the mint to give it an amazing flavor. You should try it. Good morning, friends. Welcome back. And today is meal number, I was going to say 5, but no, it's actually meal number 6. I was able to get 6 meals out of that piece of meat. So today I'm going to be making some chorizo, and then I'm going to be preparing my chorizo with potatoes. It'll be more like a breakfast themed dinner, but it's going to be yummy. The ingredients to make your chorizo, they're quite a bit. See, it's all these spices. I'm going to go over them. You're going to need some garlic. In this case, my garlic is not really so big, too large, so I'm going to be using 4 garlic, half a teaspoon of cumin, 1/4 of a teaspoon of coriander seeds, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground cloves, 3/4 of a teaspoon of oregano, 1/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper, 1/8 of a teaspoon of ginger, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 1/3 of a cup of apple cider vinegar. And that's all of this right here. And of course, your dried red chilies, red ancho chilies. Those I'm go ahead and cooking up on the stove. Once those are soft, I'm going to blend all of this and make a paste, and then add it to my ground pork. And that right there is your chorizo. To give it more flavor, you can leave it to marinate, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours. Overnight is even better. You can also batch cook your chorizo. Make a lot of it and then portion it out and freeze it. That's going to give you the most flavor. But today I'm doing things kind of in a hurry, so it's not going to marinate for hardly anything. I'm just going to make it and start cooking it. So for now, I'm cubing my potatoes right here. After this, I'm going to go ahead and season these with salt, pepper, and I'm going to put them in my air fryer and cook them up there. Once my chorizo is done on the stove, I'm going to combine both of them and then serve them with a side of refried beans. And that's dinner for us today. So let's go ahead and get started. This is my chili paste right here. As you can see, it's not a lot, so I'm going to do my best in getting it out of here. I forgot to show you the chilies, but the chilies is those dried red chilies. That's what I used, and I used 4 of those. So I get to use my hands. I'm going to go ahead and mix all of this with my hands. My hands are clean. And I'm cooking for my family, so. And the chorizo is done. This is ready to, I can either leave it to marinate. Today I don't have time to leave it. I'm just going to start cooking. You can leave it for a few hours overnight. The more you leave it, the more flavor you get. So let's go ahead and start cooking up our chorizo. Okay, so this is the large that we made out of the pork shoulder. So I'm gonna go ahead and start using this. See, all those meals, and I did not even use this. I was using one that I had already prepared. My chorizo, it's almost done. It's completely cooked. I'm gonna let it brown just a tad, and I'm gonna taste it for salt. Salt is perfect. Oops. You're not going anywhere. These are my potatoes. It's their turn. They're going in. And my potatoes and chorizo, it's done. They're completely cooked. It's time to eat. Okay guys, so this is the end of the video. As you saw, I was able to make 6 complete meals. They were quite large. I mean, we had leftovers. We're 7 in the family and we still had leftovers. I was also able to make this much lard right here, a little bit over half a pint. And then I still have the bone. That I'm going to be using, I can use in any type of soup or just bone broth. I do encourage you to purchase these big, cheaper portions of meat to cook with. It's a lot more cost effective. And you can make all different meals. You don't have to make the ones I've made, but I do encourage you to try them. They are all very tasty. And also, you don't have to follow a recipe perfectly to a T. You don't have something, don't use it. Use something else. That is true except when you're baking, because sometimes when you're baking, your bread might not turn out the way it's supposed to. But anyway, thank you so much if you came this far. I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. It helps me a lot. I'm trying to get up there to 1,000 subscribers. I'm halfway, so yay. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video. You guys take care and God bless. Bye-bye.